You're watching Meet the Movie Press. Coming up, we're going to be talking about a new Willy Wonka movie, writers on Godzilla 2, Jack Reacher 2, and Doctor Strange.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Meet the Movie Press.
Good morning, Simon.
Good morning.
I am Jeff Sneider, senior film reporter for Mashable. You can follow me on Twitter at the Sneider.
You can find me on Twitter at Showbiz Simon, Instagram at Showbiz Simon, and on Facebook / This is Simon Thompson.
And with us today, we have a very special guest near and dear to our to the Meet the Movie Press's hearts. We have Justin Kroll from Variety.
Hey guys.
Hey.
First time on the show since it's become the Jeff and Simon show. Going from Mark.
Yeah, it is.
Look
actually.
at that. It's
Yeah.
a totally different dynamic. You can find Justin on Twitter at KrollJVar.
I also have a spare plaid shirt if you want to put one on.
I know,
for the rest
I
of the
did not
show.
get the memo about
Sorry.
the uniform today, but we're still going to make the most of it and have a blast.
There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so how have we been doing, Justin? Give us a little review of the Simon and Jeff show.
So what I love, I've actually started enjoying it more than when Mark was on. I love Mark.
Oh,
But Mark's a great host, like Ryan Seacrest, Carson Dale. He segued to stuff excellently. But what I feel you two guys brought is criticism equally. It became almost like an Siskel and Ebert show on movie news and obviously movies. I loved the Suicide Squad episode. I was like, it was really well done. I laughed. I think I rewatch your stuff sometimes, and I think you've been killing it with all that stuff. The calls have been fun, especially when I call in and it gets
especially.
Eric Draven, is it though?
that's who's gonna call in
Is
today?
it?
I love the different aliases that you use.
I love. And then I wish I missed some of the guests you had. I like the tracking board guy. Josh doesn't count. By the way, tell him never to wear those glasses on the show.
He
again.
loves those glasses.
Midlife crisis, Josh, in the fullest. But so ironically, they're not my favorite episodes, but most memorable episodes was the one where you went off against the commenters, the Assassin's Creed episode, as I call it.
Yeah.
Simon Kinberg. It was. There was a moment I thought Simon. They would pan back and forth, and it caught Simon, and he's like, "What do I do right now?"
Right. Yeah, I remember that one.
And it was good. And my other one came at the end of August. It was a pretty good episode. It was like about Don't Breathe, and my one criticism is there's times where you guys like, oh crap, what do we segue to? And Simon mistakenly was like, let's talk about Trick or Treat too.
Right.
Don't mention TRT.
One of those flimsy news stories that rears its ugly head
Yeah,
every
like
couple
Doherty
months.
said something at a press jump, like he said somewhere, and Simon just wanted something to talk about, and Jeff wasn't having it, and completely was like, "It's a bad movie. I'm cutting you off at the knees."
I shut Simon down, and I apologize for that. But Justin has a point here.
But I think at one point Jeff was like, "Mike, are those guys even working anymore?" And I was like, "Yeah, they did Krampus last week." He's like, "Ha ha, Krampus." Well, lo and behold, about 2 weeks ago, I found out Mike Doherty was up for writing Godzilla 2. Now, there's a lot of things going on with this from what I had heard. Like, there was actually so they're setting up a writer's room for the new
the universe.
The universe, the Godzilla King Kong universe that they announced last year when Godzilla or King Kong came
Legendary,
back,
right.
took it back to Warner Brothers. And there's a bunch of moving pieces. So what I originally heard is that he was going to direct and write and head up the writer's room. That's what I heard. And then, but then Legendary and as well as Rupp's like, there's a lot of things, moving pieces. Can you hold off? I'm like, sure. But then I'm like, as soon as this breaks, Simon Boyd's going to get some vindication.
I'm going to be a happy man.
Some vindication.
Fine, I ate the crow like a man yesterday.
So about Wednesday night, I get a call, and they're like, listen, here's the deal. He's not directing. He's as of right now, the directing thing's off the table. We just want him to write, but we want him to bring Zach Shields, who co-wrote Krampus with him. Zach wasn't involved with Trick or Treat, but he did. And that's the thing too with this Legendary thing is Mike has a good relationship with him. Obviously,
of course.
Like Trick or Treat is their first solo production. I feel like Krampus they did together, so they really like his work. So from my understanding, he's not going to direct. These two would write this draft. He wouldn't be, as of right now, heading up this writer's room. I mean, and if you guys don't know, writer's rooms are the new thing in in Hollywood. Marvel did it so well that they want one for Hanna-Barbera and Transformers
And
and
Hasbro.
it has all these rooms, and so they are setting up a room. Mike and Zach will probably be involved. I don't know if Mike is heading it right now. I don't necessarily see that happening, but this draft will definitely be the starting point for not only Godzilla 2, but the cinematic universe in general. So
And he has,
and
Congrats
possibly
on it.
Trick or Treat too. Just gonna put that out
this
there.
might keep him busy for a little bit.
and Mike has experience with writing tentpoles. Obviously, he did one of the X-Men movies, one of the good ones,
The
right?
second one. The
Yeah,
second one.
X2, which is
Kinda
a
launched-
great movie.
which made X-Men like
Right,
respected.
into the next stratosphere.
It's kind of helped the comic book movies in general. I feel like because that was before the Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire and the Batmans. That was the one where like Hollywood.
Well, it's still held as one of the best
Absolutely.
comic book movies to this day.
And then he did Superman Returns, which didn't do well at the box office. Was critically.
Yeah.
So with Godzilla 2, I mean, is there any cast that's supposed to be returning? Cranston's out, right? He died in the first one.
Spoiler alert.
I
I
hope
don't
you've seen
know what
Godzilla
the
by
deal
now.
is. I mean, it's not like Aaron Johnson has a lot of franchises. I mean,
He survived, though, right?
He survived, but he dies in Avengers. So he's what I'm saying is Aaron's
I see.
like wide open. So I'm assuming he would be back, but I mean, I didn't realize the Tom Hiddleston Kong thing was set in present day. I thought that was a period film.
Oh, right.
Tom could be brought in. Like I'm assuming those two would be.
That's interesting. So you're saying the cast of Kong Skull Island, potentially Tom Hiddleston, Brie Larson. We don't know who's going to make it out of that jungle
Yeah.
alive. But they could potentially be involved in Godzilla
Possibly.
too. That's
Listen, I don't know the
interesting.
option. Well, it might be the negotiations may be different now because of the cinematic universe. Because they did
Right.
Godzilla and Kong way before this came together. So who knows?
Yeah.
Or they could just start like remember, end of the day, Kong and Godzilla are why we're all going to see those movies.
Right, it's not about the human actors, obviously. Could there be a standalone Kong sequel? Do you see that happening?
Depends on
That hasn't been announced, right?
no,
it
but
hasn't.
It all depends on how Kong does. This is so hypothetical right now that
Kong looks great, though.
But Godzilla already did well, so
Mm-hmm.
that's getting its sequel. And I would just assume Aaron's recast it doesn't make sense. People seem to like Aaron, so
Yeah.
I don't.
I think, and plus, he's so good in Nocturnal Animals. Have you seen that yet?
No, next week.
I loved him in that.
On the sequel thing, I mean, I think it's highly probable that unless it's a massive tanking stinky bomb of a film, I think I would put money on a sequel to Kong. Purely because I think the cast they've got together, I think because of the Godzilla tie-in, I think the fact that they've got attractions at theme parks in Orlando and LA to do with Kong. Warner really want to make money out of Kong. They obviously want to make money out of Godzilla. And Zeno Hour in the chat has also pointed out that they've got Pacific Rim as well. So if you get Godzilla and you get Pacific Rim and you also get Kong together, potentially you've got, a three-way. That sounds wrong.
Yes.
And Warner are looking at creating franchises. I mean, they're looking
That's
very
a
strongly.
stretch with Pacific Rim though, because it's just like
it
so
is-
far in the future. It's like those are aliens. These are like.
It is a stretch, but
I mean, it was a
there
stretch
have-
to get Pac Rim too.
Let me ask
Yeah.
you, did you guys like Godzilla?
I thought I was okay.
liked
It
it a
didn't
lot.
blow me away.
I just thought it was okay, too.
yeah.
I thought it was.
It had some gorgeous visuals.
I thought the way it played with tension and whatnot. I think actually when it got to the battle, I was like, is where it kind of got to like cliched and whatnot. But early on stuff, like there's a scene, that bridge scene. There's a lot of elements like Jaws and Jurassic Park.
It's not one of those horrible blockbusters which we have seen plenty of this year.
Yeah.
If it had come out
It's
this
not,
summer,
it's not
it
bad.
would've
I
been
just didn't love it.
But if it had come out this summer and like July, you would
would've
have thought it'd been the best summer movie.
For sure. Okay. Godzilla 2. I don't know if we need a Kong Godzilla universe. I don't know what
Makes more
branches
sense
that
than
goes
some-
off into, but you're right. It
Makes
does.
more sense than like even a Transformers universe. In
And
my
if
way.
listen, Kong Skull Island I think looks awesome. So
And also, Warner Brothers are looking at creating these universes. They've obviously got DC. They've got all those horror movies now. So creating a horror collective, and then if they have a
Segue.
monsters thing, I'm looking at, they could potentially do that as well. So.
Speaking of other possible
Yes.
franchises and universes,
Yeah.
wait, there wasn't news in the Monsters universe, was there?
no, but it was he's talking about universes.
Okay,
or
gotcha.
franchises.
Okay, what else was out there? You broke a big story this week. Willy Wonka,
I thought you were talking
the amazing chocolatier, getting a reboot.
Not a reboot.
not a reboot. But I mean,
Reboot would say that Charlie and the Chocolate Factory are returning. This is a Willy Wonka story only.
okay.
That was what
But
I
it's
told
not,
my
it's not a
editors.
spin-off because it's not spinning off from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. They're rebooting the character of Willy Wonka. He's going to be recast. It's not going to be Johnny
As
Depp,
a
right?
woman,
He's,
as a
yeah,
woman.
it's recast.
Wilma
I just
Wonka.
don't like the word reboot because Charlie, the Chocolate Factory, these films have always involved Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. This is
Yes.
completely,
Just
I want to
Wonka.
be very clear. that
Right.
it's
Charlie
just
is
Wonka.
not in this
Which
movie.
I love.
Maybe he comes in a sequel or whatever, but right now it's just
the
Wonka
end
and,
of the movie.
and his early adventures.
Yeah.
Or the end of the movie, right.
I like this idea a lot, and I was thinking it is going to be recast. Obviously, it's not going to be
Yeah,
Depp.
it's not going to be Depp.
But I was thinking about actors, and then I was starting to think, well, what about the director that's going to take this over? And there's such an obvious choice. Can you
Who?
guess it?
Yates?
Close. Alfonso.
Cool. And he was my next guess, Cuarón.
Yeah, I mean, and by the way, this is just a guess. They haven't even talked to directors. This is not news, you people. But this is why I'm guessing he's done Family before with Harry Potter, which happened to be also produced by David Heyman.
Yep.
And what do you know? David Heyman also produced Gravity. This is a perfect scenario for Warner Bros. Right now. They're like, so they've been negotiating with the Dahl estate since March. And what I'm thinking is there's like so many unpublished manuscripts.
You had a
of people-
very interesting tweet about this, which did you see I put it on Mashable?
I did.
It was in my story, yep.
I feel like there's unpublished stuff so I read both books. There's the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and the Incredible
Charlie
Glass.
and the Great Glass Elevator.
There was an 8-year gap between those books coming out, and in my feeling, I feel like Dahl is such a brilliant author. He has manuscripts, notes. If they were negotiating this long, there is some details where they're going to take. Simon Rich, by the way, is writing the script or outline. He helped with Inside Out with he was a co-writer.
Right, he was a former SNL writer.
Yeah, and he's going to be writing the script. But I was told it's like an outline. So I feel like there's manuscripts, there's stuff out there that tells this world and gives them away.
Do you think that we will see him sort of round up the Oompa Loompas, if you will?
Well, if you remember in the
Deport him.
the Depp version, there's some like flashbacks, and he goes in like the jungle. That's an easy way to go. But back to the Kron thing, again, this is why it's a guess. But Kron's doing this smaller, like about a Mexican family or something like that.
Right.
I could totally see when they were negotiating, talking like a sit down with someone to be like, "Yo, Alfonso, why don't you go do this and we'll talk later." It would because Warner wants to stay in business with this guy. He's
Of course.
he's
He's
a
brilliant.
lightning like for these types of projects. He handles budget, visually amazing. And he can do all sorts of genres. He's not stuck to like a very adult stuff. He can obviously do family as well. I think it just seems like down the road this would be somewhere they go. And David has the obvious relationship with him.
When did Roald Dahl die? Do you guys know?
I don't know. off the top
Google
of my
that.
head. I mean, depending on where they take it, it kind of will influence who plays Wonka. Now, I would love to see Paul Rubens play an old Wonka.
God.
No, really, you don't
Paul
like that idea?
Rubens?
No, stop.
Really?
That's not going to happen, bro.
I would love that, but someone
That's
suggested
the-
Matt Smith as Wonka.
I'm more with that. Paul Rubens is like not even around anymore. So like they would need like if Quentin Tarantino was directing Wonka, maybe Paul Rubens gets it. But no,
I would watch that.
Honestly, I could see Doctor Strange as him. I could see Benedict as Willy Wonka. But he's doing the Grinch as well, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so
but
it's
Too
so-
many franchises.
I mean,
And, yeah,
isn't
well,
Franco like? First of all, it's going to be younger. You guys are going old a little bit with like. Well, man, I guess I take that back. But I could see James. I don't know why the eccentricness. He's kind of like Johnny Depp 2.0. I liked. I know he's kind of like the action hero type now. I like Pratt a little bit just because he's, or like a Downey type. That kind of like witty. I don't need eccentric. I would almost want like laughable in a way, or like someone who's like kind of like fun and giddy and whatnot. I wouldn't need like the like Gene Wilder type.
I'd have to
almost.
think about it a little bit more. The timing is interesting, by the way, that it just comes so close to Gene Wilder's death.
They were-
I think
that's a
that they were
coincidence.
waiting. No?
No, because they just closed the deal. They were literally doing this deal for 6 months. I think I said one of the EPs or producers is his old manager too.
But I think in your story you said that the second book, The Great Glass Elevator, was written in like the early 70s, maybe?
72.
Right, and he died in 1990. So, that's an 18-year period where maybe he did jot down some ideas for a third book, or who knows.
I feel like there's something out there where you don't negotiate that long for just these two.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Why do they have to negotiate? Because they put out the last Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie.
They did, yeah.
Like, does Warner Brothers not have the rights to Willy Wonka?
I mean, they probably ran out. When did that last movie happen?
That's the thing. I don't know.
Well,
about
rights
these
lapse all the
They
time.
didn't. They didn't originally own it when the Gene Wilder movie came out. It was another studio that actually had the rights, and then Warner got it and released it at home entertainment in
I
theaters.
see.
Who
Maybe
did
they-
the Gene Wilder film?
I don't know. I'll imagine.
I wrote
MGM
about
or
this in a
United
piece
Artists
about
or
Gene
something.
Wilder because I always thought it was a Warner property because I've always known it as a Warner product. But it was actually released by the first film was released by a different studio, and then Warner got the rights to redistribute it, and obviously then they did the Johnny Depp version. But
Right. Okay. Well, Wonka as the son of a candy man.
I thought you would enjoy it.
Like my dad's like, I haven't gotten a call because my dad imagines himself as Willy Wonka. I'm looking forward to this.
whenever you say your dad's a candy man, I always think of the Tony Todd horror
right,
movie.
yeah, my dad walks
Don't
around
ever
with a
say
hook
Jeff's
for a
father's
hand and
name
a big.
3 times in a mirror.
My father's made of bees. Anyways, Willy
Sounded
Wonka.
like some playground banter. Yeah, my dad's made of bees.
I think that would be fun.
Lots of options.
What
but-
else? What else is happening this week? Colin Firth joined Mary Poppins. That was you too. We're just going down your list of scoops, huh?
Yeah, let's
It was a good week for you. Colin Firth joining Mary Poppins, and really, this was like a match made in heaven. I mean, Colin Firth is perfect for Mary Poppins. It's just a small role, though, right?
No, support. It's as big as it's. Like,
But he's not like the male lead.
oh no, that's Lynn.
Right.
It's like Emily Lynn and then Ben and Emily Mortimer. So Emily Blunt, Emily Mortimer, Ben Whishaw, Lynn Miranda.
All the top British talent. You must be. When are they calling you, Simon?
except for Lynn.
Tuesday.
Simon's gonna play one of the
Tuesday.
kids.
One of the little bald child.
Meryl Streep's the small role. She's doing it because of her relationship with Rob Marshall and the Into the Woods guys.
Right.
But it's a supporting role. He's like the head of a bank or something like that. It's not like a role from the original by any means, but this is. I always enjoy I just miss Ben. I got everyone but Ben.
Nice.
You remember back those days?
Of course.
when you would own a film and just.
And those days are running out for me, because my scoops are eventually there will come a time where the movies that get released I will not have broken any casting news in them.
That's the thing is did you look at what did you break yesterday from Strange? You had to have had something, didn't you?
I think I don't.
Did you have one?
I don't know if I did. I don't know if I had something on Strange. I remember running into the Wrap newsroom with the news that Cumberbatch was going to play Strange, and we were in the middle of an editorial meeting.
And Fleming got it, yeah.
Right, exactly. And
I
I
was
was
on
like, Cumberbatch
vacation.
is Strange. Cumberbatch is Strange. And I was like, somebody give me their computer, because it would have taken too long for me to boot up my own computer. And Sharon, she yelled at me for interrupting the editorial meeting. And sure enough, seconds later, Deadline posted it.
Damn it.
Frustrating.
Going back to Colin Firth, it's seen a little bit of an obvious casting for me because there's certain
He
people
was.
I think.
So the backstory was he actually had scheduling and something pushed, and he just
Right.
and then they came back to him because I heard Michael Sheen actually they were gonna, and then somebody came back and was like, oh no, according to execs at Disney, that'd be news to them if Colin's not involved. So yeah, he's doing it. So.
What were you gonna say, Simon?
No, I was just going to say because there was something else that broke this week as well about Paddington 2.
Oh, right.
And I know Paul, the director, and I know a few of the cast, and I've been involved with that production previously, personally connected with it. And I did wonder.
That's another David Heyman movie, right?
Yeah, David's producing that, and
Okay.
it's Paul King coming back to direct.
Sorry, I
the
didn't mean to
sequel.
interrupt.
No, it's cool. But obviously, Colin Firth was originally going to be the voice of Paddington Bear, and then
And that's Ben Whishaw.
then it became Ben Whishaw. But I did wonder if they try and get Colin Firth back in to play because there's a character in the sequel. I know because a friend of mine's writing it. And it was announced this week as well. Who was a washed-up actor who lives near Paddington Bear. That's now gone to Hugh Grant, and it's just kind of both Colin Firth and Hugh Grant are finding this fresh gust of really sizable projects that are putting them front and center again. Whereas they kind of slipped a little bit.
No,
back.
I disagree with you on Firth because Hugh
Aside
Grant
from
for
Kingsman.
he's had look up his things. He's had stuff. I feel like I mean, the King's Speech wasn't that long ago. I feel like he had Kingsman, and then there was one or two other things. But like Hugh Grant has been nowhere until
Hugh Grant could be in the Oscar conversation this year. I haven't seen Florence Foster Jenkins.
We got to see it now.
I feel like I have to because
Tapley put it in like his contenders.
Right, with Meryl Streep and everything. I feel like I needed to see it to have an educated opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'd agree with you on Hugh Grant.
Firth has been doing some not very good. This is actually a pretty weak.
What? Colin
Tinker
Firth,
Tailor,
Railway.
dude. Arthur Newman, that golf thing. Gambit.
Yeah.
The Railway Man.
Yeah. Then there was
Devil's Knot.
the thriller he did with Nicole Kidman.
I'm not. But Before I Go to Sleep.
Yeah, which was
Genius.
Shit. Yeah.
Magic in the Moonlight.
Yeah.
These are some bad movies.
Yeah.
But he's been busy. Hugh Grant hasn't.
He has been busy.
Yeah, he has been busy, but I think also Hugh Grant, he took time out as well because he had this battle with the British press about censorship and stuff like that. So I think he did do a lot of shitty films. Like he did that terrible one about being a teacher.
Okay, I take that back. Colin just he doesn't have he hasn't had taste.
I think if he hadn't had the Kingsman,
Poppins, and then he is supposed to be attached to that submarine movie Kursk, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not. Yeah. You know, it looks like he's on his way back.
Yeah,
up.
they're both. Yeah. So
I broke that on the way on vacation. Colin Firth and Kursk.
Can I just talk about some superhero stuff?
Of course.
Sure.
Something I was perhaps too excited about this week for a fully grown man. Saying that, I'm only 5'7". Captain Planet movie.
Oh God!
It is still.
How is this week
still
too?
coming around. It's been talked about for like fucking 8 years. It's been hanging around, but Leonardo DiCaprio is going to produce it,
which is
Glenn
pretty
Powell.
cool. Glenn Powell is going to
right.
write it, which was a real surprise for me. I didn't even know that he was a writer. He's the star of Everybody Wants Him, and I thought he was tremendous in that movie. I thought he was going to go on and be a big movie star. I actually heard a pretty interesting story about him last night. And him leaving Scream Queens in regard to all that stuff, because I heard he wanted off Scream Queens because he has a budding movie career. I'll tell you the rest of that off camera. But Captain Planet, I think it's a good idea for a movie, Simon. Well, like, where do you fall on that? Do you think it's ridiculous?
No, I think it's a really good idea, and I know you are not looking forward to Power Rangers. I don't know how you feel about it. I think if that does well, I think there's room for this to sort of take off. But I think if Power Rangers doesn't do well, this kind of teen ensemble action hero thing, I think it might get shelved again. I think it'll just sit there for a while. I think because if there's suddenly this resurgence, this nice...
It's just he's such a different kind of superhero.
Well, it's
character.
more environmentally
exactly, and Leo's a big
than...
environmentalist, and I feel like that would actually be an interesting movie where you're trying to save the planet, but not like from some alien threat.
Yeah,
but something an environmental disaster or whatever it may be. I think that's kind of cool.
It's in certainly the camp of cartoons that I would love to see actually become movies that I think they could do really. I mean, we discussed Masters of the Universe previously. Thundercats, I would still really love to see. Captain Planet, I would love to see.
Do you think Leo makes sense as Captain Planet or Glenn Powell for that matter? Because I don't think either one really does.
Neither of them are doing that, by the way.
Yeah.
Not
years ago, Tom Cruise was supposed to be Captain Planet. Years ago. This is like fucking 15 years ago.
I had lunch years and years ago with Don Murphy, who had the rights to Captain Planet before Leo got them, and he outlined an amazing Captain Planet movie. Like whatever Don was cooking up, I thought was really interesting. I'm sure Appy and Way will take it in a different direction, but I don't think it's the worst idea for a movie. No, I think people were excited.
I'm trying to visualize it, but I mean, I grew up with that Saturday when there was Saturday morning cartoons. That was the one that started it off.
We broke out singing the song at Mashable because Dickie was like, Dickie says that he had a pop culture blackout between like 1990 and 93 or something like that.
I mean,
where he wasn't
what was he doing?
He was drinking and playing in a band in college, or who knows what. Right. But meanwhile, me and the rest of the Masheteers or whatever are like Captain Planet. He's a hero. Yeah, I mean, it's just such a catchy song. You could remix that with Kendrick Lamar or whatever.
Yeah.
Kanye.
So I'm all for it.
Kanye
Missy Elliott and Fall Out Boy.
What else happened this week?
Spider-Man sequel apparently in the works already at Sony. That was kind of like no-brainer story of the week.
This was what I want to talk about. Because this is less about what the news was and more about what is good news for a future film. So Paramount picked up Jeff Vandermeer's new book, Born.
Yeah,
that
he's the Annihilation author. Yeah.
with Scott Rudin producing it. I feel like them getting ahead and wanting to be business with Vandermeer again
Bodes
well
well
for
for
Annihilation.
Oh, I'm really
I
excited
am so
for
excited for Annihilation.
This
I
is from
need
the
it.
director of Ex Machina.
Yeah, great cast, but I feel like if they are going back out to get that, it was when I heard that news and I was like, it was like handed to me and I was like, why have I heard that name before? I was like, oh, this is the Annihilation guy. Oh, they haven't even shown a trailer yet, and they're already buying his material. The book's not even out, the Bourne thing. So, and it's the same style of like in the future. It's like that kind of like hybrid animals things where this woman finds an organism in a lab and like takes it home and tries and doesn't realize it backfires. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm actually more excited now about how Annihilation must look because Paramount needs.
I'm all
the
for
hits.
original sci-fi.
So I am. Yeah, that was good news there.
Back to Spider-Man real quickly. I mean, it's kind of obvious they're going to be making multiple Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland. Were there any details about a potential sequel, like where it could go?
No, it's just that apparently it's in the works at Sony, and I'm kind of like, well, that's pretty obvious. I mean, I would expect at least one, possibly two more movies.
I think there's supposed to be 4. Isn't it supposed to be one each year of high school, technically?
Well, I was interesting. This is coming off the carpet from Doctor Strange last night. There was Miles Brown, who's one of the children from Blackish.
Yeah, I saw him. He was a smooth talker there on that carpet.
Yeah, he's really, really keen to get, he's a big Marvel fan, and he was really keen to get involved in the universe. And he was pitching himself as a Miles Morales character.
Oh, okay.
Or possibly a young Black Panther.
Not bad.
And I was like, actually, if you-
origin tale already.
Was he a foreign exchange student
Well,
from Wakanda?
But I was like, kind of like, I think actually he's pitching himself, and he's very good on Blackish. I think his talent needs a bit more honing. His acting is not refined by any stretch. It's quite.
I love when actors
Kid.
pitch themselves. Tyree Gibson still pitched himself for Greenland. It's
But sometimes it sounds like
Nate
it's like
Parker's
really
out of the way
stupid
now.
Ideas. Yeah, it sounds like really stupid ideas, and then all of a sudden you're like, actually, that's not the most ridiculous thing that you've said, little child.
but how about they save it for the room and then tell it to everyone else?
When does lobbying through the media ever really work?
It doesn't.
It gets
Obviously not with
fans
you.
talking and excited,
Yeah.
but yeah, clearly. Speaking of superhero sequels, though, I think we should talk about the big trailer this week, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Underwhelmed.
Excuse me, you were underwhelmed?
Underwhelmed.
Yeah, I was
Big
a bit
time.
underwhelmed.
Except for the final shot with Groot, Baby Groot. And,
Yeah,
Rocket.
that was a lot of fun.
That was cool.
I was a little disappointed they went back to the Ooga Chaka of it all. Like, I wanted something to distinguish this one a little, but...
To be completely honest, I wasn't the biggest Guardians fan.
I was talking last night about it since I was at the Marvel premiere and whatnot. I liked Guardians of the Galaxy, but I had no idea what happened in that third act. The third act is just a total mess to me. Which
is a problem I have with Marvel films in general, except for most recent.
I like the third act of Strange. Did you? We'll talk about that later in the show. But Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, I think it looks good. It should. I mean, I have faith in James Gunn. I like this cast. Should be fun.
I never judge trailers are trailers.
This was really a teaser.
Yeah, super teaser. It's just Strange is coming out. They absolutely wanted something to show the fans before Strange. So, yeah.
Well, I spoke to Michael Rooker about it last night on the carpet because he turned up at Doctor Strange, and I was asking because obviously Marvel very much, and DC as well, they're very much about having different characters appear in different films, etc., etc. So I said with his character from Galaxy. Are we likely to see him encountering Doctor Strange at some point in the future? He had absolutely no idea, but he said, I would not rule that out.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
It would make perfect sense that if anybody's going to go head to head or come sort of clash as goody and baddie, they would at some point surely cross paths. And it certainly hasn't been mentioned to him at this point, but he said that would make total sense to him, but there's nothing official on it yet.
I thought Gamora looked pretty cool in the teaser. There were a couple of cool shots of Zoe.
It felt as a teaser. It just felt to me very much as a kind of like, "Hey, audience, don't worry. There's gonna be more of what you loved last time."
I don't want to read too much into it because it's just a teaser. But that said, there was another teaser that came out this week that I thought looked awesome, and that was Logan.
Yeah,
Logan looked great.
Yeah, I don't know if it was just the Johnny Cash Hurt cover. Which I think would make any footage look awesome, but this is basically everything I've wanted to see in a Wolverine movie for several years.
Which, when I saw it, I was kind of like, it feels like, you get these fan-made trailers for things like Doctor Who, Star Trek, Star Wars, etc. You see them online all the time. It felt to me, and this is not a damning thing, but it felt like a fan trailer by the fact that, as you've just said, it felt like everything that you wanted to see, it all came together. But it felt like that in a, like, holy shit, it looks like Hollywood's actually listened to fans potentially in the right way to take Logan and with the story to do, rather than what Hollywood sometimes does is go, the fans get too close to it, so they're like, we're just going to ignore the fans and do what we want to do.
Right.
And I think
Hollywood's stubborn like that.
It really had a really nice...
The
nice
best
feel
moment,
to
though,
it.
is when the fucking claws come up through the guy's head, and it's like, yeah, this movie's not fucking around. It's
No.
rated R.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
I really did like it. Yeah, it's this Patrick Stewart stuff, like just the grittiness and how old I thought Boyd Holbrook looked dope with that.
He
like
did
metal.
with his glasses and
That's,
it. Like,
so you talked about Boyd in Predators.
Yeah, we talked about that last
Keep
week.
it.
Yeah.
This guy's. If this role is like, I like him already in Narcos. I feel like this is the next thing, and then Predator. This is the perfect setup.
Well,
to
we
tell it.
discussed Boyd last week in Predator, and I was unconvinced by him because obviously I hadn't seen any of the footage of Logan. But watching that footage, I was like, actually, I could see him really working
He
very
looks
nicely
like he's
in
toe to
Predator.
toe. Like he
Yeah.
is the main guy. They're not.
this week, Michael Stahl-David and some other guy got cast in Narcos. They're like the new partners. So
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, is Boyd coming back for season 3? Because he's been very non-committal
shooting it.
about that. He is shooting it.
Shooting it.
Okay, so he will be in it. I don't know if he'll be the main character like he has been the first 2 seasons, though.
I think either
that
him
gonna-
and Pedro are done after the 3rd season, from my understanding.
Interesting. Okay, hey, that's some big Narcos news. If you watch that show, and if you are not, you should. But yeah, Boyd Holbrook clearly has a bright future, and I like the guy. I met him at Sundance this year, and we actually had a good time.
But
It's another off podcast story.
I loved and that shot at the end of him like covered in blood. The girl grabs it like that. That the posters with a little girl holding his hand have been really like tough, like awesome stuff.
And
I
is
think.
that supposed to be X-23? Is that who that is?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm assuming it's his daughter, right?
Steppenwolf.
His daughter. He has a daughter now.
I'm assuming that's his daughter.
What is this, Jack Reacher?
Well, no. And it's Steppenwolf. That's who it is.
Yeah.
But staying with Fox and with their comic book franchises, Deadpool announcement or casting rumors this week.
Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Okay, so well, obviously Domino.
Let me bring
is
up
who
the
they're
names.
looking
Do you have
to
the names
cast.
in
I've
front
got
of
the
you?
names written
I
here.
got him right here in my.
Say the list before we even start talking about it. Put out the 5 or 6 names that Collider broke, just so that our audience, in case they didn't see that article,
Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Lizzie Kaplan, and Sienna Miller are among the ones that are apparently up for consideration.
Right.
And the character Domino, which kind of disappointed that it's not the Keira Knightley Domino character. I would have been up for seeing more
No,
of that.
that was the wrong list.
Oh, was that the wrong list?
You missed like 3 names. It's not
Sylvia
Sienna.
Hooks, right?
It's Sylvia Hooks, Stefia Sigmund, and Sophia Boutella with
Right.
Winstead and
Right,
Kaplan.
right.
Sienna, no.
No.
Sienna was on the list, but to me, she was the one who stood out.
She's not
I was like,
testing,
she's a little
though.
too old.
She's not, and maybe they've met with her, but these girls have test deals. That's
Okay.
what I explained to. So backstory real fast.
Uh-huh.
Umberto put through some shade.
Our pal El Mayimbe, yeah, he.
I'm a buddy of Umberto's, but his bravado kind of like I assumed when he. So I had heard this list and conflict of interest. I don't write Fox movies. Fiance works there, so I've moved away. I don't do that anymore.
Okay.
And I'll usually give tips on like we were on to Boyd and Predators. I give them to my colleague Dave Maneri. With list stories, I'm just like let someone else deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
That list came up the next day from Collider, and like they had the list. I'm like thumbs up, nice scoop, guys. Umberto drops in out of nowhere. Is like, oh, just because they have meetings, they're not doing it, this and that, and I'm like. Yeah, but these 5. No,
Testing is different than a
This is
meeting,
correct.
right.
This is correct, and he has it right. And instantly he's like, okay, fine. And I just assumed Umberto had different news. He just was like throwing shade for no reason, and then Boris came out of nowhere too and confirmed it. So
I mean, I think maybe there's just a misunderstanding about how testing and test deals kind of work. So all the negotiating's over with. They've signed test deals if they're going to test, and then it's like if you get this part, then the terms have already been worked out.
There may
right?
be more deals than just these 5. These were just the main ones that I think everyone.
Right.
They still might add as the week goes on.
Right.
But yeah, I don't mean to throw shade at Umberto, but
But just so that other folks know, once you sign a test deal, and then you test. If you get picked, there's no like negotiating.
Yeah,
you've already come to terms.
There was a smaller one, like I reported yesterday, that Letitia Wright got a supporting role in Black Panther.
Right.
She was testing last month with Winston Duke. They both signed test deals prior to their audition, and then once they were like, "You're the choice," there's no negotiating. I think like I accidentally said in talks at one point, they're like, "Oh no, the deal's done." So that's the same type of.
By the way, I heard Winston Duke is dating Michael B. Jordan's ex-girlfriend, and that there is some bad blood there.
I mean, Winston's a big dude, so I don't know.
Yeah, now they're on set together. I'm sure they'll put their differences aside, but
And I think he's his right hand man.
I'm wondering if that
think
stuff
they're
happens more often than we know in Hollywood, and I don't really care who's dating who. That's not my thing.
Maybe it'll help the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Back, what were you saying about your thoughts on the Domino character?
Yeah, I mean, I would really like to seeing Mary Elizabeth Winstead on the list. I would really like to see her, because you sometimes forget how good she is, and that just purely by chance. There've been a couple of movies that I've watched recently of varying quality, but every single time she's consistent. It just occurred to me, why doesn't everybody pretty much cast her in fucking everything? I mean, she is just so watchable. She's so versatile. She's so easy to watch. I just really enjoy watching her, and she hasn't done that kind of thing.
Cloverfield was a big hit for her. I actually watched it a couple of weeks ago with my mom and a family friend, and yeah, I was taken. I was just taken aback at how good she is in that film. I really liked her in the movie Fault, which I think her husband directed.
She was in that one with Aaron Paul too. That was
the one about drinking, which is absolutely superb.
Yeah, she's a good actress. I would love to. She's my choice.
Even in the Shitty Thing remake or sequel, whatever they wanted to call it, she was decent in that.
She was
the Shitty Thing sequel.
But no, she's doing Fargo though. That's the only thing where I think she may not be doing this is because of scheduling down the road.
I see.
Like, that may be
makes sense.
But I would. No offense, I would like her actually more to see her in Fargo because I like Fargo than I did.
Fargo's so fucking good.
Deadpool.
Wait, so if it's not Mary, who would we choose from this list? I hear Sylvia Hooks is
real good,
pretty good, and she's in the Blade Runner sequel.
I'd take Sigmund or Sophia.
Sigmund seems wrong for this.
You want like a tougher? Like you think Sigmund hasn't shown enough brawn?
I can't picture her opposite like Ryan Reynolds, and for that matter, who was the other one you just mentioned?
I like Stephanie in Narcos.
Sophia Boutella. Yeah, I can't really see that either.
Really?
No,
I could
see Sienna over her.
See, I don't.
I think Sienna's a long shot because she's not testing.
To me, but Sophia was in Star Trek. She's got the Mummy. It's just one too many of these big franchise.
They like her. They like her.
Audience.
True, but I mean, there's a strong number of female action stars coming through at the moment, and if they're good, I think use them as much as we can. I mean, I would rather see.
Sorry,
no, it's okay. I would rather see her than say like a Gal Gadot type. I would much rather.
On those franchises, I don't know how much she's support. I feel like it's in the Mummy. Like, do you remember Arnold? Like, I don't know how much
Arnold
of money.
Vosloo.
I don't know how I don't know how much how much of like a co-starring thing it is compared to. And same with Star Trek. She's like in makeup, so I feel like this would be like her next to Ryan, like kind of like one-on-one more or less.
I want to talk about Jack Reacher and Doctor Strange and a few other things. Let's just because we have about 10 minutes left in the show, but I do just want to spit out a couple of quick headlines. Tom Hardy is playing in that Shackleford movie. Gugu Mbatha-Raw joined Ava DuVernay's A Wrinkle in Time, which is cool. I love
I would watch her doing anything.
And Black Mirror hit today, so make sure to check out those on Netflix. Gugu has an episode with Mackenzie Davis.
Yep.
Peter Sarsgaard joined the Escobar movie. He's going to be the guy hunting Escobar, right?
Agent, yeah.
Have we seen enough Escobar stuff? Is this getting? I know this is Javier Bardem. This is like who you want to see play Escobar, but are we getting overloaded?
I think this is the last one because Javier won. I think people are like, okay, you seen all these other people play it? Come on, Javier, let's play it.
And at least
it's a different style. It's like that in the Narcos. It was that. It's like the Sigmund Wagner role. That's what they're going to focus on here is the journalist.
Wagner was so good. Kevin Costner joined Molly's Game. He's going to play Jessica Chastain's father. The idea of him dealing with Sorkin's dialogue is super exciting to me. And then Sony's Mulan, not Disney's, got a director in Alex Graves, who's done a bunch of Game of Thrones episodes. I don't watch the show, so I can't speak to the quality of his work.
Dude, your TV sense sucks. Are you watching
Kevin
Westworld?
can wait.
Are you watching Westworld?
I saw
at
that
least?
tweet.
I gotta say, I've watched the first episode of Westworld, and while I plan to finish it, I haven't. It
Just
hasn't
stick
been
with
top
it.
priority.
I've seen the first 4. I agree with
gets
you.
better.
The pilot is the average compared to what the 4th episode is.
I'm gonna continue.
A couple of other quick headlines. The Batman going to start shooting 2017.
Yep.
That was kind
It's
of
actually May of 2017.
May 2017.
Yep, that's
Awesome.
the date.
James Gunn this week said that he wants a Nebula solo movie going back to Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm not seeing that. I'm not feeling that personally at all. But good luck
for
to him with
James.
that. And Josh Gad joins the Orient Express. That cast
cast.
keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger.
The thing that stuck out about that story really quick is that he's going to be playing Johnny Depp's translator. I'm like, wait, what?
I'm going to put $20 on Kevin Hart popping up at some point.
What if Johnny doesn't speak at all and he just whispers in Josh's ear the whole movie and is like...
Best performance.
Who knows? I like the way that cast came together with Kenneth
Yeah.
Branagh. There may even
I'm
be
liking
a
that.
couple more people coming, joining that film. All right, let's talk about our boy TC Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Jack Reacher, never go back. Should people go back this weekend?
I say yes.
Simon liked it.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, shit, I thought you had. My bad. I didn't really care for it. I thought it was entertaining, it was watchable, but at the end of the day, in one ear, out the other, totally forgettable.
You see, for me, one of the major criticisms that I'm seeing from a lot of people is the fact that he returns and there's a lot of things that are different this time. For me, it felt like a different movie. The pace was different. It was more of a more cerebral thriller. It was more intelligent than the first one, which trying to be just a plain action movie. I like the action sequences in this. Sure, some of the locations have played out in previous action films. There's not a lot here that's fresh, but I really enjoyed watching him in it. I really liked his play with Kobe Smulders. I really enjoyed that. But, I'm a fan of Tom Cruise, and I really like the way that he plays Jack Reacher. It's different enough as an action character from the likes of Ethan Hunt.
Yeah.
And I'm really pleased to see that.
I really liked
enjoyed
the
it.
first Jack Reacher. You liked it too,
I
right?
did too.
Yeah.
I
I
really
did.
liked the first Jack Reacher. To me, this is just a pale imitation. It's a slimmed down sequel. Normally, sequels get bigger and better, and they add people to it. This movie, no Richard Jenkins, no Rosamund Pike, no David Oyelowo, no Jai Courtney, no Robert Duvall. It's just
The supporting cast, they
gone.
downgraded big
it's a
time.
huge downgrade, and you can feel that in the movie. And then there's just too much about, is Tom Cruise this girl's? There's a young
Baby
girl in
daddy.
the movie. Yeah, is he the father or not?
Yeah.
The villain, I actually liked Patrick Husinger as the hunter.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot to that character, but I thought he was a good physical foe for Tom Cruise. To me, Tom Cruise is like my favorite movie star. He's the best and the biggest. But he did feel for the first time that he was just kind of going through the paces here.
You see, for me, all the criticisms that you've made, I actually feel for me are positives, because I like the fact that this was kind of it followed on from the previous film. I like this kind of was going in and filling in some blanks and taking on a new story, and it humanized him in a way that we didn't really see in the first film, where it was Jack Reacher, the action guy, the vigilante. I genuinely really enjoyed it, but I was very nervous about it. It's not, like The Accountant, it's not the straight action movie that it tends to be painted in the trailers. So I think people might go in expecting that, or expecting the first Jack Reacher, which a lot of people dismissed and then picked up when it was on home entertainment and were like, actually, that's not shit. I really enjoyed it. So I think the negatives that some people are pointing at actually were positives for me. I enjoyed it.
To me, it's a rental. It's a movie that you catch on FX one afternoon, and it was like, yeah, that wasn't bad, but it's not worth $15 to me.
My one thought is, I haven't seen it, but like from the reviews, talking to our critic as well, is like he's so cold that his charisma is lost, and that's one of his biggest tools. Like you think about like Vincent in Collateral or Lestat in Interview with the Vampire, where he's a villain. You still at times rooting for him because he has that charisma. When he's handicapped by not having that, and that is the character, that's an issue a little bit.
Well, listen, it's not the worst movie I've seen all year, but it didn't do it for me.
Thursday previews, it was 1.325 million.
Simon loves his box
I
office
do love
stats.
that, and it's looking.
If it does over 20, I think they would be happy.
Well, they're pitching it at 19 this weekend. I think it can do 19-20,
which is
quite
more
easily.
than the first Jack Reacher, which I'm very surprised.
Yeah.
And the first Jack Reacher only made 15
that
its
came
opening
out.
weekend.
That came out like Christmas time when
Yeah,
it was a loaded
it was
slate.
tough.
There's not as much like people who saw
That's
like
true.
The Accountant will probably want to see another action.
Plus,
movie.
also there was the stigma around, a lot of fans going like, he doesn't look like Chuck Reacher sounds in the book, and it's like, so there was that. But you've not had that with this. Also out this weekend, Keeping Up with the Joneses, which you've seen.
No, I didn't see it.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
No, I hear
I've not heard great
it's
things.
really bad, yeah.
Yeah, it's 300,000 last night, looking at about 6.2 for the weekend, which is not great. Boo and Medea Halloween.
Didn't see that either.
I really could not be less interested.
It's not for me.
And then also Ouija, Origin of Evil this weekend, which I have seen.
Yeah, and you liked it.
Yeah, we discussed this briefly on the red carpet last night. Did 722,000 last night. It's about 16 minutes.
I did a Q&A with the producers, Andrew and Brad at Platinum Dunes.
Has that run yet?
Today, actually. So
Okay,
keep an eye out for that. We talked about Friday the 13th and where they're going with that. Jack Ryan, and it's actually the 13th anniversary of their first film, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So it was a nice little catch up on that.
The other movie that does come out today is Moonlight, and I'm going to have a review of that on the site on Mashable today. It was honestly the toughest review I've ever had to write. Everyone is loving this movie. A.O. Scott at the New York Times said, questioned, is this the year's best film? Moonlight is a very, very good movie. It didn't have enough meat on its bones for me. I thought it was very good, but it fell short of greatness. And so, the critics are having a field day with it, but.
Can I just go back very quickly to, I know we're running out of time, but Ouija, Origin of Evil, for me as a horror film, it's really good. It's not Mike Flanagan's best work. It feels like, for me, a bit like Oculus, where it was clearly studio wanting to have more impact.
Right.
There are several cliches in that he manages to make work in his favor, rather than going, oh, we've seen that kind of stuff before. So I do think it's worth watching. But also a tinier film that's coming out this weekend, which I also think is worth your attention, is Ty West's new one.
In a Valley of Violence. I'm going to check that out on VOD.
It is worth checking out. It's a Western. It's not a horror. There's a little sprinkle of horror in it. It's really nice and grisly. Brilliant dark humor.
And our boy James Ransone's in it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I love James Ransone.
And the soundtrack is fucking amazing.
Oh, okay, I'm definitely going to check
so
that out on
good.
VOD. I missed all the screenings. Also, check out Tom Cruise's video with James Corden, where he it was so cool.
The cameo appearance is
right. We won't spoil it, but definitely just Google Tom Cruise and James Corden. And we're gonna use the last 2 minutes of our show before we say our goodbyes to talk about Doctor Strange, which leaves Simon out a little bit, but so be it. So there is a review embargo. We're not going to consider this a review. Social media reactions are okay. So just imagine Justin and I are reading our tweets. I didn't tweet last night after the premiere because I was just exhausted, and our phones were in that. Anyways, you weren't there, but I'll talk to that after. Doctor Strange, what did you think? Where does it stack up in the Marvel Universe for you?
Precursor. I am not a big Marvel fan. This is
Neither
one.
am I.
This and Ant-Man are probably my two favorite ones. I would say the visuals are incredible.
I've never seen anything like it, guys. My jaw dropped.
The action sequences were awesome.
In that first half an hour, where Tilda kind of shows him what's going on behind reality. I clapped. I clapped after that sequence. I never clap in a movie.
Yeah. And the cast is great, and Benedict. He has some Downey charisma a little bit. I was worried about this. I thought it was gonna be very Imitation Game Benedict. He was awesome too.
He was very likable.
Yes.
It is definitely my favorite Benedict Cumberbatch performance, and his American accent was great. That's what everybody was complimenting him on, because I actually followed him out of the theater, and he was getting a ton of kudos for his American accent. Tilda, by the way. Now,
Mads is great too, by the way.
Mads was good, but there wasn't much to that character or whatever. Tilda Swinton, though, and I'm just going to end it on this note because we have to wrap up. She could be the first Marvel character or whatever who could be in the running for a supporting actress nomination. No. I got shot when I mentioned this last night. I got shot down too. But out of all the performances in the Marvel universe, it's just too crowded.
People are going from actress to supporting actress.
I guess you're right, but I thought Tilda Swinton was that good.
I liked her a lot. I really did, but you threw me off with the Oscar nomination there.
I'm just trying to get Marvel fans to follow me on Twitter. That is going to, keep an eye. I'll tweet more about Doctor Strange later in the day. And Josh Dickey's going to be reviewing for Mashable.
I was going to say bravo to Scott Dickerson. But
we just got an extra minute.
I was going to say bravo to Scott Dickerson, but I thought
Derrickson,
but he might think it's inaccurate because of journalists.
He's going sky high on the list, on studios' list.
I was so impressed. The pacing too.
I don't even know. how a director, like the vision for this movie, where there's so much going on and people are going this action is happening this way, but everything else here is going backwards.
The humor, that sequence in the ER with Rachel McAdams, that was incredible.
The Cloak is my favorite character, maybe.
Can I ask, the predictions are it's going to pull in 70, 75 million opening weekend. Do you think that's realistic?
Yeah.
Do you think that's doable?
I think it's probably going to be bigger than Ant-Man, just because Benedict Cumberbatch is such a huge
Nothing coming
force
out.
in sci-fi and all that.
Those are fair.
But we do have to end the show, so that is going to do it for this week's Meet the Movie Press. Justin, where can the good folks find you?
Kroll J Bar at Kroll J Bar on Twitter. Sorry.
Make sure to read his stuff on Variety. Simon?
You can find me on Twitter at ShowbizSimon, Instagram at ShowbizSimon, Facebook, This is Simon Thompson. Do follow me on Twitter. Tom Cruise does.
Tom Cruise
fucking follows me on Twitter.
That's amazing. And I am at The Sneider on Twitter, where I am blocked by Michael B. Jordan and Russell Crowe. You can follow my musings at Mashable.com. Thanks for tuning in this week. I think it was a pretty good show, guys. Have a great weekend.
Chrissy Teigen follows me. That's
I would follow her everywhere, but the police have asked me not to.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
Views expressed here are those of the hosts only, and not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.